What's up? What's up? Happy Black History Month. Listen, finally got around to releasing this video. I wanted to release it yesterday for Black History Month, but you know, if you're a parent and you know got 3 kids, 3.5 with a dog, we got a boxer, then you know the trials and tribulations of trying to get things on schedule, and the end of the day came and I was beat. But we're here now. We're here now. Welcome to the station, the ballot and the bullet. Not or. We want them both. We need to be voting. We need to be thinking about and in politics, right? But we also need to be thinking about self-protection and what are we gonna do to defend ourselves. So that's this station. Yeah, we're right at you. We're gonna blend, you know, politics with some gun reviews. So let me tell you a little bit about what this station is gonna be and why I started this station, right? Here we go, why I started the channel. Why I started the channel. So I have a lot of friends, and you know, during the campaign, things get heated, right, with friends, in which we get into a lot of conversations around politics. And usually, you know, I'm the one, you know, fighting with friends, unfortunately, because they're stuck in what I would see as these complacent ways of the Democrats, right? And so let me just put it out there. Not a conservative, right? Not a Republican, but I'm not a Democrat either. And so, in speaking to folks around my position on where we are relative to the economy, reparations, violence, guns, what I found for myself and what others have found is that I just don't fit into a particular box, right? If I see something and it makes sense and it's smart, and the person is a Republican or Green Party, I'm going with what makes the most sense. What is the most practical for me, and most importantly for my people, right? I think a lot of times what we see is folks making decisions that is in their own self-interest. And I'm not dissing that, right? I think making decisions that are in your own self-interest are important. But ultimately, right, when we move forward, for me, I'm black first. Ultimately, what we need to be doing is moving forward as a community and as a people, right? And so, in so many ways, it's important that we do that by thinking outside the box, right? And confronting a lot of these norms that haven't gotten us that far. So in some ways, right, I agree, you know, with some of these talking points of the conservatives on how Democrats law, you know, black people to sleep in particular, and I'm just not with it. I'm not the one. I'm out. You know, I've been out of the party for, I don't know, 15 years. When I saw that they, for me, in terms of, you know, the international trade, again, still how they were dealing with cities and a whole number of things 15 years ago, I just felt like the Democratic Party wasn't the place for me. I would never be a Republican. So yeah, those just some brief thoughts. And so yeah, you know, when I'm talking to friends, they're like, oh, you know, you sound liberal. In some places you sound conservative. You know, you sound progressive. And so for me, I like to think about what's the most practical for me, what makes the most sense for my community. You know, I not only want myself and my individual family to prosper, but I think what's ultimately important is that collectively we prosper, right? Our communities prosper. And so where I live, I want my city, you know, to prosper. And so there are things that, you know, we need to do collectively to sort of make that happen. Take the time right now. Go ahead and hit the subscribe button, like, share, pass this video on. Again, this is the first in a series. We're going to be dropping these weekly. We're going to try to do a combination of both the politics, because there's some nutty things in politics almost on a weekly basis that I want to address. And also we need to talk about self-protection and self-defense, right? We need to talk about the fact that in many ways, we're in this alone in terms of defending ourselves, right? I'll show you, and we'll look at videos, and in some cases speak with some experts that really talk about, you know, in a self-defense situation, you're really on your own, right? I mean, the police or the authorities may show up after the fact to do some type of investigation, but in the minute, 2 minute, 5 minutes, 10 minutes that you're in that immediate danger, usually the authorities aren't there, right? And what you have to do is be ready to defend your family, right? I have kids and I have a wife, and I take that personal in terms of being able to defend them in my home, in the car, out in the public, no matter where we are, right? And so that's extremely important. So that's the first reason, right? I think folks were interested in what are my thoughts in politics relative to what I would call the black perspective on politics. Because I do think, you have the American way or the American thinking, or in some cases status quo thinking, and then you have, in some cases, a very nuanced way of thinking that how black folks, think about it, right? And so a minor example would be how America thinks about 1776, right? And then how black folks have a special relationship with that, right? We're still American. We understand 1776, but we have a different perspective on what that date actually means, right? So there's an American perspective, and there's absolutely a black perspective on just about everything. So the second thing I wanted to talk about was, when 45 got elected, there was a lot of, he riled up a lot of feelings, what I would call, he brung out the American pie of America, right? And so he brung out a lot of hate. Did he intend to do that? I don't know, but he riled up a lot of hate. And that's just not my opinion, right? We see the hate groups, we see the anti-protesters, showing up to protest, free speech, to protest police accountability. They're protesting things that we should be for, right? We should be for just formulas for funding schools, right? When you have people against those kinds of things, then we need to be concerned. And so, again, we got to a period in 2020. So in 2018, it got to a point where, when 45 was elected, we had protests and we had anti-protests, and then we had the insurrection, right at the end of his term of 2020, and the country was, a little bit in turmoil, right? And I thought about, carrying a little bit more at that point, right? I bought my first gun in 2015 because of an incident at a business that I owned, in which we had an employee, in a situation in which her domestic partner came to our place of business and in my attempt to create some space or some distance in terms of defending the young lady, I became the target of this aggressor, and we didn't know when he would return, right? It was not my intent to not show up to the place of business where I worked. It was not my intent to back down. And so that was sort of a flashpoint for me in terms of making the decision. And so that was the first time, again, and that was in 2016, in which I purchased my first weapon, and that was maybe in 2015. So then in 2016 I bought another one just for fun, and then again, all these things began to happen, and then 2020, right? And so you have the insurrection, you have a ton of things taking place between 2019 and then 2020. So between 2019 and 2020 is when, my acceleration and understanding of, self-defense got to a different level. And then another quick story is my wife and I, we were out vacationing in some country mountain town, and we went to the local range, right, to see what they had on the shelf. and to do some shooting. You know, we're out of town. You know, I like to hit the range. And an older lady walks in. She had to be over 65, right? Walked in with her husband, MAGA hat on, and she looked elderly, right? She looked as if, like, if I saw this person, I would want to know that she just didn't get her driver's license renewed, that she actually had to take the test another time. You know what I mean? Like, she looked elderly. So when she came into the gun store, she, you know, immediately made a purchase. You know, she was in and out in 30 minutes. And one of the things that came to mind, or a couple of things came to mind for me. The one thing was how quick, right? She came in and she was in and out of there in 30 minutes, right? And I'm not against folks being able to access firearms quickly, but just that stark reality of how quickly you can access such a deadly firearm in terms of defending yourself made me think that, again, is this the time by which I need to be thinking about carrying on a regular basis? And it was strange when this young lady purchased this firearm, because what I was thinking during this time, we were having some protests. We had during this time, or right after, during this time, the killing of George Floyd. So there were many protests in that regard. And what came to mind for me was that this woman was afraid that the protests, largely in the inner city and urban areas, right, that the protests would somehow come to this mountain town, right, somehow come to this mountain town, and that she would be in the proximity or join the protests, or somehow, and that she would be in danger enough to pull her firearm. You know, outside of that, the idea that she was afraid enough in this country mountain town, afraid enough to want to purchase a firearm, made me think, oh man, I'm here in this country mountain town. She might be afraid of someone who looks like me. You know, if she's gonna purchase, you know, I might just get back in line and purchase. So think about that. You know, think about that. So the third reason, real quick, right? We got three more reasons. Again, if you didn't hit that subscribe button, hit subscribe, like, share, tell all your friends about it. Here we go. Reason number 3. Again, this is not, again, a unique position, but I always speak from a position that I am to a converted. So before, I was certainly a non-believer, right? I was of the belief that more weapons meant more danger, right? More weapons meant more bullets flying. And, you know, both police and citizens, everyone knows that the criminals don't practice when they shoot. They don't practice with their firearm. And we also know that, for the most part, in a lot of situations, that police officers are largely undertrained. And this is, you know, you can ask your local police officer, sergeant, you know, how many hours of required training they take or are required to take weekly or monthly or quarterly, and you'd be surprised how low it is, right? And so with that in mind, I was of the belief, you know, if you had officers with guns, you had bad guys with guns, and you had other citizens with guns, and right, legally, meaning other citizens, that it just meant more weapons, more bullets. And so when I converted to being a Second Amendment believer, people were shocked. But I told them, yeah, I'm ready for all that smoke, right? Literally and figuratively. I want all that smoke, all of it. So I'm a converted, right? And I'm not just converted. I might be, you know, borderline headed in the direction of being not a 2A. I'm not a 2A nut like the 2A nuts out there. Some of the enlisted folks, all due respect to enlisted folks, a lot of the toxic culture in 2A are former enlisted folks, blah, 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 blah. But shout out to them, you know, mad due respect. But it's just the facts. That's just what it is. So that's not who I am. I'm not a toxic 2A guy. But again, when I got into, again, diving into the Second Amendment, more into politics, understanding that I needed to be in a position of being able to, defend my family at all costs. I dove into what type of firearm was best, right? And what folks will tell you is it's a rabbit hole, right? It's certainly a rabbit hole. Once you look at one firearm and they compare it to this firearm and blah, 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 right? And different makers and reliability and sights and triggers, it's just, it could be a rabbit hole. And so it's like Pringles, right? Once you get into it, it's hard to just have, one. And so, again, that's not a unique position to be in, to be a converter from a non-believer, someone who was wholly against, right? I was really against, right? Folks carrying firearms in terms of them being deadly. But now, I think, everybody should have one, right? Everybody who can legally carry. If you're a law-abiding, good-minded, good moral soul person, right, then, why not? Again, we'll have the conversation around self-defense over property, right? And that's something that's more of a moral decision. Someone's stealing the TV from your house, if someone's stealing your car, right? Are we going to shoot someone over those items, right? That type of property. Some folks would say, hell yeah, I paid for it, shoot them. And so we'll talk about that in the future. So again, we got videos coming again. Go ahead, subscribe, like, share. I'm gonna wait. Subscribe, like, and share. Here we go. The last reason, number 4, the fourth reason, right? The fourth reason why I started this channel was, as I became converted to being a believer in 2A, there just was a lot of questions from friends and family around the Second Amendment in general, my conversion, and then they were just interested in the firearm that I was carrying. Often they would, some folks aren't that, educated on firearms. They would say, you carry a 380 or you carry a 9. You carry a revolver, you got an AR, they would say, random things, right? And so I would have to, take a couple minutes, educate them, for a second on what that was really about, right? And so, again, for me, it's only been about, 2 years. And so by no means am I an expert, but I have done some research. I have done some diligence in terms of, firearms, and I will be presenting some reviews because in choosing my own EDC, of course, I had to go through and do comparisons, right? I had to go to the range, pick up, pick up a Smith & Wesson compact, pick up a Glock 26, pick up whatever it was, pick up the Hellcat and see what did I want to carry. And again, it was for protection, right? And so when you're looking at it for protection and you're looking at it for carrying it every day, you get into comfort, right? You get into holsters and belts. And so when we look at gun reviews, we'll talk about all those things as well. And so again, I get asked all the time, do you carry, when you go to the supermarket, do you carry in the morning? Do you carry when you go X, Y, and Z? And we'll talk about those scenarios. I mean, there's some places that are not permissible to carry, but there have been shootings in these places, which mean there's no metal detection, right? Which means weapons have gotten in. And so my hope is to not ever get caught carrying where it's not permissible. But if criminals can get their weapons in, then I need to be able to defend myself, right? And so My EDC is a Canik TP9 SC Elite. Drop the mag. You can see that it's clear. So we'll be doing reviews on different weapons, but you can see right there, that is my EDC Canik TP9 SC Elite. So we'll do a review on that, but it won't be the only one that we sort of look at. So of course, again, I said it, they're like Pringles. Once you have one, you want them all. And so we'll talk about budget guns, and I really got into clones, and we talk about, you know, some favorites. And so, you know, drop the mag. We'll check here, see that that's clear. But, you know, of course, everyone compares most weapons to what? Glock 19. Yeah, I got a Glock 19. See, I got the flag on it. Got that thing on, so I don't know if you can see that. I'll work on the lighting, but love that gun. Again, I'm really into clones since I can't afford right now, as I'm building up some bank and as I build the channel. Hopefully with my Patreon page, right, we'll have subscribers that help me fund some more weapons so I could do some more reviews. But this is the EAA MC Regard. This is a Beretta 92 clone. And a hell of a clone, is it? Absolutely. This is a hell of a weapon. Clear. Again, we're gonna do a review. I'm not gonna talk about the trigger or the mags or anything. But this thing right here, love it, love it. Love clones, completely in my wheelhouse of affordability. And then for me, the gun of the year last year, I'm just gonna show it quickly because I'm gonna do a whole review on it. Again, I shot a whole bunch of guns last year. Of course, I couldn't afford them all. So between, and I forgot to say this, but in a 2-year span from 2019 to the end of 2021, I purchased maybe 13 firearms, right? And so that's not a lot, but that was the acceleration. And so one of the firearm handguns that I purchased in 2021, right here, the Walther PDP. Yo, this PDP is serious. You'd be hard pressed if you told me that this wasn't in the running, right? So it's clear we're gonna drop the mag, nothing, right? You'd be hard pressed to tell me that this wasn't in the running for the gun of the year. You'd be crazy. I love it. Love it. Love it. Oh, we're gonna play with that trigger later, but the Walther PDP is awesome. Here we go. So again, I want to invite you, your friends, everyone who you know is into politics, is into looking at it from a unique perspective, who isn't closed-minded, who isn't dug into conservative or sort of liberal democratic policies, who want the best regardless of party, then this might be the channel for you, right? Because again, I'm not closed-minded. I'm not even going to say that I have all of the ideas or the best ideas, but I am willing to stretch and bend beyond the status quo, right? And that's what we have right now in the Democratic Party in particular. And we'll talk about comparisons between the party, because I do think while the Democratic Party, again, is more empathetic, like in a sense, that you have areas where the Republicans outperform the Democrats. Like the Democrats just get their butts kicked. And so we'll talk about those areas. And then again, as we journey into 2A and learning a little bit more about 2A, what we'll also have is gun reviews, right? Well, as we talk about protection and self-defense and being your first protector. So again, I want to welcome you to the channel, The Ballot or The Bullet. Again, we need both. We need politics, we need defense. And again, you know, handguns are not only defense, but they are cool sort of toys, right? Man toys at the range. And so we'll have some range hours and we'll show you a couple of things. But in the meantime, I want you guys to stay safe, stay true to yourself. And I don't even know you, but I love you. And we see you later. Beautiful lies. Take my heart.